Hello and welcome to The Finer Things in Life from the Todd Sorensen Memorial Wing of my house, where we have everything Todd. I dress in pink shirts. I have things Volvo, Starwood Vacation Ownership, golf, a fine bottle of wine, all the good things in life.
He was very stoic. There was a short interview and he asked a lot of questions and he just seemed like he never smiled.
I think I was intimidated. I think I was a little scared of who this guy was.
He seemed impressive and knowledgeable, and thankfully he was.
Intimidating and inquisitive and challenging.
He was serious and to the point. You may not think that he was always paying attention since he had other work with him, but he would always have something to share and would interject if needed.
I'd heard a couple things about him. He was kind of like a pharmacy celebrity. My impression of him was just that I was really intimidated.
Does he go salsa dancing? Because he really should.
He had that TDS face. You can't tell what's going on in his head.
It could be a little bit socially awkward at times, and you know, the long pauses, the distant stares, the chin rubs with his arms crossed, all were things that earned him a spot in the back of the booth.
He completely missed one of our meetings. We sat around waiting for him and he just didn't show up.
I think it was a little intense and a little intimidating.
Also, I think it can be a little bit intimidating.
Very intimidated. He was so serious.
And I go over the corner of the room where Dr. Sorensen was, and he just took out his wallet and like a wad of cash and just started like going through it and like putting money in like Dr. Larson's bucket. And I remember think Dr. Larson got the pie.
Can we talk about the amount of wine that is at your house? I mean, it's like you're drinking the wine, you know you're not really supposed to because it's an interview. And
yeah, I don't really like that test you give us there.
Dan and Todd would always spend so much time debating. The whole first year I hardly had to say anything in any of those discussions, and I would just sit back and listen to them debate something.
Farting came up while we were staying in the room together, the three of us. And so the next morning we were talking to Todd about it, and Todd felt really sorry for Andy that he had to stay in a room with the two of us. And while we were explaining that maybe it should be the other way around, that Todd should feel sorry for Jean and I for having to stay with Andy, we brought up the idea of Dutch ovens, because Andy had explained to us that he did that to his poor wife. So we're very sorry, Laura. But Todd didn't know what a Dutch oven was, and then we were in the odd position of trying to explain.
So I have a list here, a binder full of about 695 memorable moments. So let me go through this list one by one. We were making dinner and his daughter Lexi was watching High School Musical, and Todd decided that he was going to mimic the dances. So he comes out to the kitchen and starts dancing, and dang near took my kitchen light fixture out of the wall. One of the things I learned from Todd was really how to cook a great steak. We had just been to a wine tasting and we're getting rather blotto. And here we are, drunk, preparing steaks, and they were the most delicious, fantastic steaks ever. Later that night I woke up in the middle of the night. These things were so packed with seasoning that I chugged literally a gallon of water in the middle of the night because I was so thirsty, and found out the next morning Todd had to do the exact same thing.
And I remember when my co-resident Casey and I walked into Todd's office and seeing Andy's head right on Todd's computer. It was quite alarming at first, but after time we just grew used to Andy's face just randomly popping up. And I remember Todd dancing, and possibly dancing on a table. I also remember Todd and Andy frequently being confused, or people would say Todd when they meant Andy. So maybe my stories are really about Andy and not really about Todd.
So my friends and I were having some post-meeting cocktails with Todd, and we all ordered, because it was hot, so we all ordered Grey Goose gimlets, and we laughed that the Grey Goose gimlet was the drink of leaders. In one of the classes, he was asking us to describe leaders and to name leaders, and I think someone threw out like FDR or something, and JFK. And so Todd, in an offhand comment, said, "Oh geez, I guess leaders are, like a real leader is known only by his initials." So my friends and I took it as a way for him to kind of ask for the nickname TDS.
When I think of Todd, I think Irish car bomb.
when I got the TDS crazy face. That's what I call it. I told him that I was gonna buy a house, and he looked at me like, "You, a house? Are you sure about that?" And as you can see in the background, the house is still standing, everything is still good, I've made all my payments.
One funny moment that will forever stick out in my mind that I can only summarize in 3 letters is BFI. And I'm not going to go into any more detail than that. Todd will know what that means, and maybe a few of you here will know. But long live BFI.
And we're sitting in the room, and I was, I don't know, probably around halfway through my pregnancy, and Todd made some comment about, oh, we need to address the elephant in the room, Cassie being pregnant, and how that would affect any scheduling. And I didn't really think about it at the time, but then later my co-resident brought up that how he probably shouldn't refer to a pregnant woman as an elephant. And I also had a really good time square dancing in Paynesville with Todd and all the other residents during one of our academic days.
Did you know that when he was in his youth, he actually had a prize-winning cow named Star?
So I didn't realize that Todd was a farm boy who has a 4-H history. So we were pretty impressed to know that he's a more well-rounded individual than just the city boy that we first knew.
Driving his Volvo, and later I told him the stories of how I did my Jersey sweeps.
Todd's pretty up to date with his pop culture. Knows who Beyonce is.
Not really though.
No,
he didn't know most of the songs.
Knows who Beyonce is.
When we were watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Going to Vegas, and we've got a good video clip of him doing the 10 Lords of Leaping.
Oh man.
We didn't know that Todd had such fancy dance moves.
He's got moves. Todd's got moves.
Piper's piping.
One is that he really forced me to step out of my comfort zone, particularly when it was time for me to move on from the first to the second year. His ability as a mentor and as a teacher to help people find the answer for themselves. And it's his way of questioning, why do you believe that? Or he really walks you through a thought process that maybe you hadn't done before. And he certainly did that to me as I was a resident on many occasions. Since then, as a mentor in my career, he's been able to provide that guidance and support.
I think some of the things that I've learned for better or for worse sometimes is how to question and challenge things, and sometimes I don't do it as artfully as Todd does, but not taking things for granted and dreaming big with what you want to do and having a vision for the future that asks that question, why not? Really, I think Todd, for me, has been a model of playing to your personal strengths, of going after your career in that way, but also being patient enough and letting it come to you that aligns with your strengths. And he's been a great example then of bringing the right people together. I think the residency program is a result of that philosophy of surround yourself with good people, and good things can really happen if you let go of them, and his delegating ability there. And then finally, once you have them together, getting them to work together as a team that optimizes each other's strengths.
Not always get too wrapped up in the small things or dwell on the small things too much, but to really look at the big picture overall.
Whenever you're asked to do something, or whenever you say you're going to do something, make sure that you do a really good job and produce high quality work, because that's how you build a reputation, and that's how opportunities will come your way. And so I always thought about that, and I still think about it now when people ask me to do things, and etc. And I think I've even stolen that advice and given it to students myself.
There is always time for wine. And believe me, that graduation gift you got me has been used tons of time in my household by friends, co-workers, family. It's been put to very, very good use. The second lesson is you need to play as hard as you work. And we all know that Todd works very, very hard, and in my opinion has basically coined the term workation, because that occurred several times during my residency experiences. But very important, play as hard as much as you work. The last lesson, TDS lesson, I have to share is whether it's in leadership experiences or patient care, teaching others, or in your own personal life with your friends and your family, you always need to be true to yourself and true to the others that are closest to you.
He's shown me how to wear the hell out of a purple tie. In addition to, you know, trying to dress like a rock star every day and balancing work, life, family, fun, but more importantly, just living every day and thinking about the impact that you're making on the patients' lives and the students that you have around you and the residents, and just doing your best, giving it your all the time. It's not; those aren't even words that he's ever had to say, but he just kind of exudes that, and we're able to get the point across in how he is so passionate about his work and thinking about leadership development and helping us create careers and paths and journeys that we can all pursue and be happy with and be excited to be pharmacists, and we can't thank you enough for all of that.
The best thing that I learned from Todd was that leaders can be developed. I was never considered myself a leader, and I realized that actually I was a leader. Maybe not necessarily a positional leader, but I was a leader, and that helped me to really develop my leadership skills and to realize that I can be a leader and that I was a leader. And I really appreciate that immensely.
In reality, change is hard, and not everybody's always ready for change at the same time that you are. And sometimes it's just very important to be patient. It's important to conserve energy, know what you can and cannot get accomplished in a certain amount of time, and then ultimately look from different perspectives and look for your in to find a mutually beneficial outcome, because at the end of the day, that's what everyone's looking for whenever you're leading change, is that everyone mutually benefits at the same time.
One of the things that really stands out to me was a conversation that we had about, and it wasn't even one of our formal leadership conversations, but it was about treating people as people. We all have plans and we have goals and we have things that we're trying to achieve, but in that really keeping in mind that the individuals you're working with are people and just valuing them as people beyond the work that they're doing.
I remember during second year of leadership residency when we were starting our practices, probably when Maggie and I spent the largest concentration of time sitting together in Todd's office. I think we were talking about collaborative practice agreements or something, but I distinctly remember him asking me if I was practicing pharmacy the way that I've seen pharmacy practice or the way that I think it should be practiced. And that really changed a lot of how I was viewing what I was doing and makes me think every day to push myself a little bit further to achieve what I think the vision of pharmacy really could be.
The ability to look inside myself and learn about myself, and the questions he would ask me really allowed me to reflect, and my ability to reflect really grew in my knowing him. And I grew more in these past 2 years than I have ever had.
Learning the balance of diplomacy with knowing when it's appropriate to bring home your point.
We're really glad that you saved the best two for last before saying adios, but just remember,
even on your worst day,
you're still not a douche.